It's a generation game between 21-year-old Ted Evetts and 53-year-old Martin Atkins, a familiar name to darts fans who watch his progress. A Yorkshireman, a former World Masters semi-finalist and a Lakeside quarter-finalist. Ted Evetts might be riding the crest of a wave as he comes into this tournament, having won 2 Development Tour titles this month, and he's hit a 9-darter recently as well. Could be an interesting tie in this first round, and as the assassin joins the stage, the asset has departed the commentary box and been replaced by Dan Dawson.
No nickname, Murph. That was an open goal for you there to have a dig, but remarkable restraint.
Yeah,
well
I couldn't think of anything that I would have been allowed to say.
Too many options, yeah, too many options. All trying to cram through one very small door. Penultimate game of the afternoon session. We get to see the German icon, Jihan Artut, round things off against Wesley Plaisir. Man who plays in the same darts team as Danny van Truyck, the one we've just seen knocked out the European Darts Open. But before that, it is this generation game, as Murph called it, between Martin Atkins.
First leg, Martin to throw first. Game on.
The white rose of Yorkshire across the back of Martin Atkins' shirt, as you might have spotted on the walk-on. The assassin and Super Ted.
40.
Ted's been playing some really good darts start of this year. He's been playing some really good darts for a while now. But on the main tour, he's been playing everything. He's been playing so much darts over the last 2 or 3 years, Ted Evetts. Challenge Tour, Development Tour, stepping up and making up the numbers when he didn't have a tour card. He does have a tour card, so now he's playing week in, week out and picking up some good results. He's taken some scalps this year already.
He has 9 titles under his belt already on those tours that you mentioned. Who knows how far away
140.
a Pro Tour title might be for Ted Evetts. We have seen the emergence of many, many players that were on the fringes in the last couple of years.
45.
Some of them on the European Tour last year. Max Hopp, who went on to double his title tally later in 2018. Johnny Clayton, who picked up a European Tour title too. Doesn't have to be a young player, does it, to emerge?
No, absolutely not. I mean, you know,
100.
People were writing off Gerwyn Price halfway through last year because his Premier League campaign had just been an absolute write-off
97.
from a seemingly very early stage. But on the Pro Tour, and particularly the European Tour, he started to put things together, made that final, the All-Welsh final with Johnny Clayton in Graz, and was beaten by the Ferret, but then went one better to claim his Euro Tour title, and look what it...
59.
It foreshadowed. It foreshadowed him winning the Grand Slam, and this year, maybe not so much the last week or two, but certainly there was a 2 or 3 week spell where he was playing darts that pretty much nobody in the world could handle.
Well, the winner of this would take on Dave Chisnell, who seems to be returning to his brilliant best. In fact, Chizzy hoping to rack up one of 15 or 16 titles this year here this weekend.
He's already got 2.
That was what he set himself. A bold target.
140.
Much more manageable target here for Ted Evetts, 96. With 3 darts in hand.
Could go double-double here. He's blocked a bit of that treble 20, but I think he's still going for it. Oh, what a dart that is. Double 8.
80. Martin, you require
to be
89.
57, the first part of the equation. Now upstairs. Now the middle.
53.
Not the worst miss in the world, but it shouldn't really matter.
It shouldn't, and it doesn't, and it didn't, and Super Ted goes 1-0 up. Now, I don't know how many of you are watching this. You might be watching the average on PDC TV. You might be watching through various bookmakers' websites. Might be peering in through a window here at
60.
the Osterman Arena. I don't know. I know some of you guys will be digging through stats and stuff. This is not Martin Atkins brackets Wigan. There are
60.
two Martin Atkins, just to make this clear. Martin Atkins brackets Wigan. You'll have seen quite a bit of him on the PDC Tour over the last... In fact, Ted Evetts has seen quite a bit of him.
100.
Played a couple of times on the Challenge Tour last year. Seen Martin Atkins appear in all sorts of things. Pro Tour events and Euro Tours.
79.
Was it possible that Ted Evetts, I mean, we don't know, some dart players follow the game very closely. Ted might have been looking around the practice room this afternoon thinking he's not turned up.
Yeah. Will I get a bye? I mean, admittedly, there was some other bloke with Martin Atkins written on his shirt, so
43.
even if he didn't know him from Adam, there was a clue.
But get out there, Dan, and start the chant. To Martin Atkins.
45.
Well, the way it's going so far, he might need to invite the other one onto the stage for a bit of help. Because Evetts has broken in the first leg and he's racing away in the second.
Now, what I have noticed, and he illustrated it there, Ted Evetts, and it's a point I've picked up on many times when watching Ted, is he's keeping that same rhythm for each dart. He does have a tendency sometimes, when he gets the first dart where he wants it, to just hurry up and speed through his next dart and sometimes his third. But if he takes that same amount of time and care, that's what he can do. He can make those adjustments. I think he's more reliable when he does that. Yes, of course it works sometimes. You'll see him at 180s and he'll carefully place the first dart and then just follow it quite quickly with the next two. It does work, it can work,
26.
but I think it's much more reliable,
74.
maintaining that rhythm. Something else he doesn't have to worry about. It becomes an automatic motion. That was a little bit quick.
54.
But it's not going to cause him any problems just yet. There could be problems in a moment, though, because Atkins is down to a one treble finish.
The second leg in a row. Evetts with 3 darts in hand at double. Finishes a job with no trouble at all. This is a European Tour debut for Atkins, but he will be appearing again
100.
as soon as next weekend. And the importance of these European Tour events is not to be underestimated, even for players that aren't in the Pro Tour ranks, that haven't got a tour card, because you can achieve big things by qualifying for these events. Just look at the importance of it for certain players. Paul Nicholson, who was sat alongside me, he probably only earned his place at the World Championship thanks to running on the European Tour last year. Mark Webster only qualified for 1 and didn't make it to Ali Pali for the first time in, I think, 13 years in any World Championship.
Well, yeah, Martin Atkins has qualified for a couple of them. Ted has qualified for 3 of the first 4, and he is one of the best performers on those Friday nights of qualifying. When you look at the averages over those 4 qualifying tournaments, and I know you're only playing 2 or 3 games in each one, so it's not like you've got loads of games to pick from, but Ted has played 9 games and he's averaging almost 96. Now that is very, very competitive. Beating the likes of Mervyn King, Ryan Joyce, he's had a 110 average in there. Hit a 9 darter. He's been doing some very, very encouraging stuff.
As he is here, because he's down to 87 after 9 against the darts.
100, and you require 87.
Give himself half a dozen to finish it. Well, the only blot on the copybook in this match has been that Evetts hasn't managed to complete the combination finishers, but when he has returned, he's done this first time. Oh, wow. Well, was that careless or just an act of showmanship? Does it put Ted off?
It might do. This could be a master plan, a master strategy.
Well, it's only a master plan if he hits the double one, Dan.
Martin Atkins, brackets, genius. Oh. Oh, yeah.
36.
Well, you've made yourself look silly, Martin. A maximum to leave himself in the madhouse. And it kind of did half the job, because it made Evetts edgy, but then missed the dart at double, and not just missed it where you cannot miss double one.
Well, yes, Murph, but in the bigger picture, look, good darts are better than bad darts, and funny darts are better than even good darts. That was good darts and funny darts at the same time, Murph. That's like,
59.
That's the holy grail. Not laughing at the minute, though, Martin Atkins.
I'm sure that it was probably more a case of he just threw it in expecting Ted to hit the double anyway. Maybe Ted was toying with him. Maybe the mistakes were not what they seemed.
Well,
and he thought he'd put the pressure back on his opponent.
I mean, that's one interpretation.
People used to suggest that Phil Taylor had missed on purpose at times.
I did remember.
Or missed the first two darts and went last dart on purpose just to annoy his opponent.
I did remember seeing an interview with Phil where it was a charitable interviewer had suggested to him that he would go for shots that he shouldn't go for, because if he didn't hit the treble, he'd leave himself a bogey number. But he'd still go for the 180 anyway, just because he wanted to show he was that good and he hit it. And Phil said, oh, yeah, I do that all the time. I think Phil just got his counting wrong. I think that's what the issue was. Admittedly, he got himself out of jail a lot.
Well, Martin Atkins has managed to hit himself 162 and he didn't need to.
54.
As if you talked him into it, Dan. And Ted wants tops when he returns.
You know, that's one of the reasons why he left himself 162, because he had a stray dart in the middle of his visit, but he could have tidied up. But the thing is, by making that mistake, the man who is 32 years older than Ted Evetts has given him this breathing space. And he has seized it. And Ted Evetts, instead of being forced to perhaps go for the bullseye in the last visit, or being put under pressure, he knew he was getting darts for the leg, and in the end it's the very last one that gets him the leg. And he might not have had that many darts for the leg, were it not for that counting mistake by Martin Atkins. And that means that he's 4-0 down here, when it could have been 3-1, and the game looks very different.
Reminder of what we've seen so far. Justin Piper, 6-3 winner in the first match against Ryan Meikle. Wins 2 for Pavel Jerko. Ross Smith pretty easily for that pair. Matthew Dennant coming through 6-5 against Madas Razma in perhaps the surprise result of the afternoon so far. And Adam Hunt has just seen off Danny Van Tryp, 6-3.
Yeah, I think Adam Hunt the most impressive of the performers so far.
58.
Although a lot has to be said for Matty Dennant's character to come from behind and beat Madas Razma.
One more to come this afternoon. Jenar Tut making a return to the European Tour stage here in Germany, his home nation. Got some big names coming tonight, haven't we? Kicking off with primetime Matt Edgar against Christoph Ratajski, then Jeffrey Desvan against Josh Payne.
96.
Also the Barney Beaton showdown, the likes of Glenn Durrant, Dimitri Vandenberg, Mervyn King, and that tie between Wayne Jones and Vincent van der Voort.
100.
To end proceedings. Decent night's darts, Dan, for a Friday on the Euro Tour.
No, a couple of world champions, a couple of world masters, a world youth champion, and the star of Edgar TV. What more do you want?
85.
Loose last dart. That does hurt Evetts, and this is a chance for Atkins. One he should seize. One he does seize, but is it a way back into the game, or is it just the last final thrashings of a landed fish.
$96. $60.
Mentioned the ferret Johnny Clayton earlier, a winner on the Euro Tour last year. He will take on Adam Hunt in the next round after Hunt won that match against Van Tripe. The winner of this one
100.
up against Chizzy. Can he win 15 titles in a year?
He can.
Will he?
I don't know. Let's find out, Murph.
121.
A win this weekend would be a second Euro Tour title for Dave Chizzy Chesnall, a 5-time major finalist. It would be his third title of the year.
60. $60.
Well, just a treble here would put Evetts in control of the leg. He's found at least that.
140.
They're much better than that.
Well, there you can see, Ted, it wasn't rushing through the visit, but he didn't have the stop and the aim there. It was a much smoother thing. And look, I don't know. I know it's worked in that instance, but I'm not sure it's wise that he keeps chopping and changing his action. There, that's the solid address that you see. And then he speeds up. And he speeds up again, and I'm just not sure chopping and changing all the way through a game is the sensible way to go.
Well, that one was even more curious because in the previous visit he was just following a dart into the treble 20 bed, but that was moving to a different segment entirely.
Yeah.
100.
And I just don't see the benefit. When you listen to the top pros and a lot of experienced veterans, they say rhythm is so important.
Yeah, repetition. Now he's going to have to manoeuvre his way around the barricades. And does so superbly.
Cannot fault that visit from Ted Evetts. Yes, he made it a bit tricky with the first two darts, but the last one was excellent.
I do wonder sometimes whether
60.
players, particularly young players, would prefer to throw in a way that produces style rather than substance, because it is the fast throws that excite the crowds, isn't it? Yeah, we saw the methodical, mechanical throw of Bill the Power Taylor, who is the greatest ever to grace the game.
Well, yeah, but not all young players are like that, are they? I mean, you know, Martin Atkins, that's a second 80 for him. You take somebody who's universally pretty much heralded as one of the next big things, Dimitri Vandenberg. He's one of the slowest players around, really.
135.
Doesn't matter whether you're throwing fast darts or slow darts. You're throwing good darts, world-class darts, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that is true, but I just wonder who the stars of
100.
tomorrow will model themselves on, because I assume that a few years ago everybody would have wanted to throw like Phil Taylor, because that seemed to be the best way to throw.
134.
Ted Evetts has left himself 92 after 9, and it's forcing Martin Atkins to use the bullseye route had he got the trebles, but he hasn't. And the question is, oh dear, does Ted go bullseye or does Ted go treble 20?
Maybe the last visit from Martin, or the last dart from Martin, has helped him make his mind up. Did go bullseye. And he's having to slide across to the left to find some kind of route. Not sure that route was available.
Always going to be tricky after that first dart, but Martin Atkins made it too tricky with his miss in the previous visit. And so we get more match darts for Ted Evetts. Single 3 for double 16. That's the simple bit done. He's not far off. He thought it might have been in for a moment, but two more match darts go begging.
Atkins is alive for now. The fish still flapping about, Dan.
It would be some act of Piscine-esque apology to make it back to the river from here.
Yes, he thought he was very close to being battered. And served up on yesterday's newspaper.
93.
It's taken him a while to settle, I think it's fair to say, on the European Tour stage. He was, first few legs, he was averaging in the 60s. Actually not that far behind Ted now, which suggests that his performance levels have increased dramatically.
Well, yes, and I mean, in terms of the scoring, he's been, in terms of the number of big scores, he's been just as good as Ted, but there have been some poor visits below the ton that have hurt him. But there's only sort of a couple of points in the averages, and he's had to survive darts for a 6-1 thrashing. But that's 180 number 3 for the Yorkshireman. And maybe this game could change.
58.
So this is an 11 dart break of throw. Well, that's all right. 36 scored. Leaves double 4, finds double 4. And by hook or by crook, he's still going. He's still in this.
Very rare you see an 11 dart leg where the player isn't quite sure what double they need to throw out to win it.
140.
Seems to be getting better and better in this match, Martin Atkins, and perhaps it would be wise to do an extra 10 minutes practice before he gets on stage next time, because he'd be blowing his opponent away.
100.
Well, Ted's just kind of been trundling along at this level all the way through the game. It was more than enough in the early exchanges, but right now
46.
there's a danger that it might not be, because you can see Martin Atkins' average has just been creeping up, actually nipped above Ted momentarily.
He was 4-0 and 5-1 down in this match, Atkins, but now only needs one more break of throw. Has to hold first, and a treble really required here, but not that one.
Yeah, a reminder that 15 darts a double for Ted Evetts. He's going to bring his average down, but he is a full 10 points behind what he's been doing in qualifying for these European Tour events. This is better.
140.
121 left after 9. And at least a couple of visits in which to see it off.
So you require 121.
Some players will look at the bullseye first dart here, because that leaves 96.
Well, all Martin Atkins can do now is hit and hope.
100.
Well, he's hit a ton.
Requires 16.
That won't be enough to worry Ted, who has 3 darts to seal the deal and only needs 1. Atkins came firing back at him, but the damage was done early in this one, you feel, as Ted Evetts moves through to the second round, where he will face Dave Chisnell after beating Martin Atkins by 6 legs to 3.
wir bedanken uns beim Assassin Martin Atkins.